Hello, Safe Harbor Yogis. Welcome back. Thanks for having me again. Those of you who haven't practiced with me, my name is Jen, and I've been practicing yoga for quite some time now, going on 17 years. So I absolutely love what I do, and I'm so happy that I can share my practice with you. Today, we're going to delve a little bit into forgiveness. Not just the fact that we can forgive others, but for the fact that we're able to forgive ourselves. So, we're going to all sit in chairs today. If you are on a mat on the ground, I will teach to that as well, but I will stay in my chair for the majority of the class. Okay. All right. So little tutorial for those who have not practiced with me before. A couple rules about our chairs. So let me just back up so I'm in shot here. This is Jasper, if you haven't met him yet. So anytime we're seated in our chair, if I say to be in a relaxed position, that means our back is against the back of the chair, we're leaning into it, we're comfortable. So any meditative poses a lot of the times will look like this, where we are actually against the back of the chair. When we're doing any other particular exercises to use our own posture, I would just ask that you sit a little bit further ahead in the chair to a safe point, of course. We do not want to tip these chairs over, as most of them probably have wheels. So again, just moving into the front of the chair, maybe 2 or 3 inches, just enough that you can use your posture instead of the back of the chair. That's what I would ask for that. Our feet will be firmly planted on the ground. Our knees are right over top of our ankles, and our hips are, our knees rather, are just about as wide as our hips are. So that would be where we're at. As far as it goes for um, any other moves, we could basically do either on the floor or in the chair. So I will instruct to both. Now we'll get started here. So everyone, find that comfortable seated position. So if you're on your mat, maybe sitting with your legs in crisscross applesauce position, or just having the soles of your feet together with your knees wide, or however you feel comfortable sitting, find that particular spot. We're going to place our feet on the ground for those of us in the chair. You can place your hands on your lap. You can place one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. And I encourage you all to close your eyes or lower your gaze, just to stay in this inward position, that we're not being distracted by outside things. So this is time, and yoga is time to be with yourself. One of the coolest quotes I ever heard was, meditation is like hanging out with your soul. So I like to think of that in a kind of funny way, because you get to really experience some different things when you go deep inside. So things you wouldn't expect. So right now, just staying where we're at, simply feeling our heartbeat, feeling our breath without controlling it, without doing anything special, without changing the way we breathe. Just simply being still, having the eyes closed or the gaze at the ground, so there's very few distractions. And then paying attention to the way we're breathing. So this morning, are you feeling that your breath is moving more into your chest and it's maybe making your shoulders want to rise up? Are you feeling it all in your belly, that your belly is rising and falling as you breathe? Or are you just feeling it in your chest? Can you feel it in your shoulder blades? So ask yourself these little quick questions, let your brain answer. And then maybe if your breath is going into your shoulders or into some weird places like your back, try to send it to right underneath your hand where your lungs or your belly are. And with that conscious change, now paying attention to our heartbeat. If your hand is there or not, You're more than welcome to place it there. And connecting that heartbeat with your breath. So simply feeling your heart beating, acknowledging that your heart is beating, which is something that our body does 24/7, but we just don't have a lot of time sometimes to sit down and be thankful for that. So just show a little gratitude, maybe let a slight smile come to your face. That our bodies allow us to breathe. They allow our hearts to beat. They allow us to experience as much as we can in this human form. You may keep your hands as they are if that's comfortable, or you can lay hands on your lap, but still keeping that same posture with the eyes closed or gaze at the floor. Now I want to mention about forgiveness, because this is something that I struggle with myself quite often even. And not really so much as forgiveness. Sorry, Jasper was being a little bit frustrating. We got him to stop then. Sorry about that. Fun of working from home. But as far as forgiveness goes, not really forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. So I find it so important to know that you can forgive yourself for things that you have done. You can forgive yourself for things that you're maybe still harboring that aren't serving you. Things that you should have forgiven yourself a long time ago for, but still might be lingering even. So that's something I want to hone in on today and allow ourselves to forgive. So while paraphrasing a bit, there's a Buddhist prayer that's cited a lot of times that's in regards to forgiveness. And it does mention about forgiveness to others, whether knowingly or unknowingly that they wronged you in some way. Also for them to forgive you and for you to forgive yourself. So it's definitely a very important point to come to, that we don't have to keep kicking ourselves over and over and over again for the same thing. We can find solace. We can find peace. We don't have to be so wrapped up in our past emotions that we can't enjoy the present. So from where we're at, you can keep your gaze at the floor, or if you'd like to bring your gaze to the screen, feel free to do so. We're just going to do some gentle stretches to start here. Let's drop our right arm down by our side. Those of you on the floor, whichever way you're seated, you can just place your right fingertips on the ground. We're going to reach our left arm high up above us in the air. And we're going to spin our pinky, that almost our palm is trying to face behind us. So spin that pinky inward. We're going to take a lean over to the right, again, carefully in our chairs. Give ourselves that stretch really from our waist up. So we're not really moving anywhere within our seat. We're just simply reaching here with that arm and giving ourselves that side stretch on our left side. Holding it here for one big breath. Inhale here. And exhale. Next inhale, let's bring both arms over top of the head. Drop the left arm down by your side or down to the floor. We're going to stretch over to the left. So go ahead and spin that pinky back down toward the ground, that palm back behind you. Give yourself that stretch on your right side. And maybe taking a moment to just acknowledge any differences you feel from side to side already. One more breath. And then let's come back up to center. Bring both arms high in the air. Stretch all the way up. Find a big full body stretch all the way from your seat up through your fingertips. Maybe even bring your gaze up to the sky. And then let your palms come to touch and bring your hands down to your heart. Go ahead and release those arms. Let both hang down, or let both sets of fingertips hit the floor if you're in your chair or your mat. So coming into a twist here, let's sit a little bit away from the back of the chair. Those of you who are on the ground, you're fine right where you are. We're going to twist over to the right first. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our left hand to our right knee and bring our right hand behind us to the chair, or if you can just simply swing that arm open and just let it point backward. Either way is an option. So if it's too crunchy feeling, if you're placing your arm on the chair, you don't need to do so. You can just simply give yourself this reach, because you can see my torso is moving with that, and that's what we want. We want our torso to move, but not our seat to move. So maybe bringing your gaze back toward that back hand. Breathe here. Notice where that breath's going. And then swapping out hands here, we're going to go ahead and cross that right arm across our body, grab onto our left thigh. Left hand is going to come behind us or to the chair, whichever is most comfortable, and simply reach back, let your gaze come back, let your seat stay as it is, and just twist from the waist up. So taking a good deep breath in here. And on your exhale, bring yourself back to the middle. Let those arms hang or dangle. Let them relax. Now we're going to pay attention to where we're seated. So those of you on the ground, if you're able to kind of sit in a more relaxed position while keeping your knees bent and your soles of your feet on the ground, you're more than welcome to either stay seated up or you can recline yourself. Either way works. Okay, we're just going to find some grounding underneath of our feet. Now, this may sound like a strange word to a lot of you, but grounding means pretty literally what you'd think it would mean, that we are trying to stay grounded. We're trying to stay in the place that we're at this exact moment. So in the practice of mindfulness and the practice of meditation, staying in this present moment is so key. So by doing so, it takes some paying attention to what's happening in the moment rather than wrapping ourselves up in what happened yesterday, what's happening 2 weeks from now, what am I having for lunch later. We want to be able to be present here in this moment. So that takes some sensory feelings that are going to be needed. So starting with our feet. So that's why I want our feet on the ground, because we are connected in this world. No matter what your stance is, religion is, anything like that aside, we are all connected to this earth. We're on this planet together for a reason. We may not know that specific reason at this time, but we are here for that. And we want to connect with the planet and with our grounding of our bodies. So you don't feel like you're floating up somewhere in outer space and you're actually a part of the world and a part of the community that way. And really being a part of yourself, I guess that's where that's going. So by planting our feet, if you're in your chair or if you're seated on the ground, feel free to look down at your feet. Look at your toes or your shoes, whatever you're wearing. And what I want you to do is pick up all 10 toes. So it's just the 4 corners of the actual part of your foot that are touching the ground. Wiggle your toes. Notice any sensations. Do you feel any joints cracking or popping or anything like that? And just really feel that rootedness to our feet themselves. So as we're lifting our toes, as we're planting our feet down, almost feeling some proverbial roots growing underneath of us. So almost like we're a tree that's trying to keep rooted and keep strongly standing. That's what we want to feel. So really press into those feet, into the ground. Take a moment to place your hands in your lap or by your side. If your gaze is up at the screen, you don't need to see me right now. I promise I'm not doing anything exciting that you'll miss. But you can bring your gaze to the floor or close the eyes. And what I'd like you to picture a big tree, whatever that tree may look like in your own mind's eye. So picture that tree. Picture the roots of that tree. Is it a big tree? Is it a baby tree? What's it look like? Does it have leaves? Does it have flowers? Is it planted in a pot or planted in the earth? Imagining all these things, imagining what color the flowers are, even if you are thinking it's a flowering tree. Is it barren of any leaves? Or is it fully abloom? So picturing that tree, that inner tree. Mine personally is a huge chestnut tree that I grew up with in my backyard that we used to literally call the big tree. I think that's my spirit tree. So really picturing this, knowing the time that it's taken to root that tree into the ground, that doesn't happen overnight. But maybe finding that weird little connection with that tree inside of us and allowing that to keep us here in the now, in the moment. So keeping that tree inside of us, let's just move a little bit forward. You can gently blink the eyes open or bring gaze back up to the sky. You can let your toes come back down to the ground if they haven't done so already. So now that we're nice and rooted, let's play around with the legs a little bit here. Because again, also tree limbs, things like that, roots and branches, they don't really go in one direction all the time. So we're going to move our legs, move our roots a little bit. So those of you on the ground, stay in that same position with your feet on the ground with your knees in the air and knees bent, please. But just recline yourself down to lay on your mat for this one. So regardless of where we are, we're going to cross our left ankle over our right knee. Now we have some options here. If this is too much for you, feel free to back out of it. The further your ankle is away from your body, the less intense it's going to be. So you can use, just as I'm doing here, I'm kind of cradling onto my leg. So I'm holding my knee with my left hand. I'm holding my foot with my right. And I have it pretty far away from my body, just like right on top of my knee almost, or right above it. So again, the further away that ankle is from the body, the easier this pose is going to be, and vice versa. If we bring it closer, you're going to have to open your hip a little bit more. So feel free to play around with that. And once you get to that place, we're going to flex our foot. So there are two words, if you're not familiar with it, that are used in yoga quite often in regards to our feet, which is either pointing or flexing. So pointing is just as you'd think it would be. It's pointing your toes forward toward the front of the room or toward whatever. If we're flexing our foot, that means that we're flexing our toenails back toward our body, or we're trying to flatten that foot out like it's standing on the wall to the side of us. Okay, so for this particular one, we want that foot to be flat. We want to have that foot flexed. So flex that foot. And again, you can keep the hands there as a safeguard. If you finally do feel comfortable enough, you can let go of the hands and let them fall by your sides. Those of you on the ground can let your arms just lay by your sides. And regardless of where you are, on the ground or in the air, what we're going to do here is we're going to thread our left arm through this hole we created. So you can see where my hand comes through. It looks a little silly, but it is what it is. We're just going to grasp onto the back of our right thigh here. So I just have my fingers interlaced behind the back of my right thigh. So you can do this in any position that you're in, either on the ground or in the chair. We're going to use this left elbow as a gentle weight to help keep that hip open instead of bowing up toward the sky. So From here, you can kind of slouch yourself forward as I am. If I turn to the side, you can kind of tell that. So you can kind of slouch forward a little bit. Again, the more you fold forward, the more intense it's going to be. So kind of gauge that. And you can give yourself a little lean until you feel something in that left hip. Let yourself feel the littlest bit of something. Again, never going past that comfort zone, never going to a point of injury by any means, but simply finding that resting spot that we can come down to. So coming into it here, take a deep breath in, exhale it out, and let yourself fold a little deeper. So that might mean your chest coming down to that shin a little bit closer. It may mean that you're tucking your chin into your chest and just letting your head drop heavy. So finding whichever version of this is best for you, or making a combination of those versions. So breathing here. We're going to take 2 big breaths together. Let's inhale here and exhale it all the way out. Inhale again. Exhale all the way out. Beautiful. Unlace those fingers. Let the foot come back down to the ground. Kind of pedal out your feet, bounce them around a little bit, move your legs just to let go of any tension that might have been built. Same thing, opposite side. Cross the right ankle over the left knee this time. All those same rules apply. We will not bore you with the details again. So again, we're going to flex this foot. You can either hold on to the ankle or the foot with one hand, maybe the knee with the other. Furthest away that is from the body, the easier it'll be. So play with that a little bit here. Breathe into any spots that feel tension. And I know that sounds ridiculous and silly. My boyfriend makes fun of me anytime I tell him to breathe into his hip because he tells me that he does not have lungs there. And I can't disagree with him. But breathing into a certain place in your body is meaning that you're just sending attention there. So you're trying to release tension with your breath in that particular spot. So simply staying in this upward position of the pose for the moment. And then we're going to thread that right arm underneath. So right arm comes through that hole we created. Interlace fingers underneath the back of the left thigh. Use that right elbow to keep that hip open. Take an inhale with me here, please. And take an exhale and let yourself bow down just a little bit toward those legs. And then you can let the head drop heavy. You can do whatever you do need. And simply find your place in this pose. So it may be different than the other side, and that's totally fine. Breathing here, not holding the breath, just holding the pose. We're going to take those 2 big, big breaths together again. So take an inhale in here. Exhale however you'd like. One more time, take an inhale here. Exhale however you'd like. Beautiful. Go ahead and slowly sit yourself up. Release your hands, release that ankle, pedal out your feet, bounce your legs up and down, do whatever you need to do to make yourself come back to normal. So we're still seated in our seat here, reclined on our mat. So let's have everyone sit up, no matter where you're at. We're going to stretch a little bit through our legs here. So we're going to first use a little bit of our core and do a version of what's called boat pose. So those of you on the ground, you can kind of recline a little bit more. You'll find where your tailbone kind of meets and there's that sweet spot. So you can kind of sit back onto it. I'll try to do it the best I can on the chair since my mat's not really in view. But you'll kind of lean yourself back and your legs can be bent or your legs can be straight. So you have that option. Okay, so you can kind of recline into that. Or you can also take the option too of just extending the legs straight out in front of you. So 2 options you have. So what we're going to do first is we're going to kick one leg at a time out. So those of you on the ground, you can keep maybe one foot to an inner thigh by doing it that way for the time being. So we're going to start with the left leg being extended. So those of you on the ground can bring the sole of the right foot to the inner left thigh. We're going to extend that left leg out in front of us. So you can see I'm even with the ground here. I'm flexing my toes like I'm standing on the wall in front of me. So what we're going to do is play a little bit around with this foot. So it's flexed right now. Let's point it. Flex it again. Point it. One more time. Flex it back. Point it. This time roll this ankle in circles, either direction, either clockwise or counterclockwise, however you want to start. And then same thing, opposite direction, switch directions with that ankle. Let some of those, those extra pops out. I know mine makes some strange sounds. But then again, simply holding this leg out in front of us for this moment. Let's set the left leg down, extend the right leg out in front of us. Flexing our toes like we're standing on the wall to start, keeping that leg, trying to keep it even with the ground. Go ahead and point those toes and flex them back. Point them, flex them back. One last time, point them, flex them back, then roll that ankle in either direction you wish, and then switch when you feel ready. Go ahead and place both legs out in front of you this time. So those of you who are in the air here in a chair, you have two options. You can sit a tiny bit forward enough that you can extend your legs straight and still be safe. I would like for you in this case to please place hands on the chair itself behind you so it does not tip. So straighten those legs in front of you. If you're on if you're on the floor, you can just simply extend those legs straight. So from here, we're just going to feel our length of our body. So we're going to do a little bit of a stretch looking up to the sky here. So again, those of you who are on the ground can place your hands behind you like I am in the chair. We're going to kind of open our chest up toward the sky. So let your shoulder blades come back together and almost touch themselves. And then give yourself a little gaze up toward the sky here. Leaning back a tiny bit, staying safe wherever we are. And then coming back out of the pose. So releasing that pressure in the hands, rebending the legs, and go ahead and sit back into your chair just a little bit, still with your back away from it. I apologize, my animals are insane this morning. So from where we're at, we're going to extend one leg long and then do a fold over them. So fold means that we're bending at our waist. We're just hinging. So we're going to extend our right leg forward first. So our right leg is going to stay forward, and we're just going to simply give ourselves a fold over it. So those of you on the ground, bring the sole of the left foot to the inner right thigh for this one, and just go down toward that right toes. So we're going to hinge ourselves forward just a little bit here. Again, staying safe if we're in a chair that we don't tip. And just letting ourselves hinge as far as our body allows. So we're really trying to push our heart toward our right toes here. You can let your head drop heavy. You can keep your head straight with your back, whichever you'd prefer or feels good to you. Hands can stay on your hips or on your lap. And then slowly on your next inhale, sit yourself back up, swapping legs out. Let's go ahead and extend the left leg long here. Sole of the right foot could stay on the ground. Those of you on the mat can bring your sole of your right foot to your inner left thigh. Flex those toes back toward your face and bring your hands onto your hips here as a little guide if you don't mind, and give yourself that stretch forward. So finding wherever you can come to here within the stretch, you may feel a little bit in the lower back, maybe in the sides, a little in the hamstrings. So finding that sweet spot. Taking one more breath in and out. Slowly on your next inhale, bring yourself up to seated. And from where we are at, we're going to go ahead and sit back into our chairs now. I'm just going to check my timing here since I record from my phone and I don't know what time it is. Perfect. We're looking good, guys. All right. So from where we are at here, we're going to come back into our bodies a little bit more for a little bit of meditation because I think that that's needed. I'm at least feeling that as a vibe in general. So we're going to come back to that comfortable position. So those of you on the ground, you may lay down. You can have your knees bent just like you did before with your feet on the ground. You can have the soles of your feet together and your knees hanging wide and heavy, which is what's called cobbler's pose or Baddha Konasana in the Sanskrit yoga language. Um, so you're more than welcome to do that if that's in your hips or in your body as well. And just simply let yourself recline and let your full back of your body hit the ground. If you're in your chair, sit back. Let the chair take off some of that weight, some of that tension, and just let it go into the fabric of the back of the chair. Let's place our hands on our laps if we're seated. If you're laying down, you can have your arms by your sides, on your belly, on your chest, wherever you feel is the most comfortable place for your arms. Also, you have the option too, in meditation, in yoga, in Buddhism, they do say that facing your palms down toward the ground is used to ground ourselves. So bringing back that word once again here, that we now know the meaning of. So we're not floating in outer space, we're on this earth, we're a part of it, and we're planted. So that's what our hands down means. Our palms facing up is used as receiving. So if you feel like you're looking for answers, looking for any messages from the universe, from the world, from whatever higher power that you believe in, just letting the palms face up and just telling the universe, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to receive any information you want to give me. That is such an important thing too. So playing around with whichever way your hands are, and a lot of times I've found if I try to flip my hands in a direction that's not necessarily the right thing for me, my hands will almost tell me nope and correct themselves. So let yourself really find your intuition there. If you haven't done so already, please close the eyes or bring your gaze to the ground. And we're going to do some breathing here together. Because, like I said at the beginning of our class today, we breathe all the time. But how many times do we actually breathe together at the same time, in the same space, choreographed? There's some power that's in breathing together. And that's something that we lost a little bit of during the pandemic here, during the times of COVID, feeling uncertainty, not being able to comfortably breathe. So I think it's a really beautiful thing. I thought it was to begin with to breathe in unison, but I find it even more important now. Whether we're breathing into a mask or not, we're still together. We are banded, we're bonded. We are all together in this crazy journey that we're in. So plant through those feet, ground yourself there. Let your hands either assist that grounding or have your palms facing up to receive any messages that you're looking for. And I want to start by letting go of any tension in our bodies. So we're going to breathe away a lot of that tension in our bodies, but I really would like for us to kind of just relax them first. So let's pay attention all the way from our top of our head down to our toes. So doing a quick scan all the way from the top of the head down to our toes. Notice if you're holding any tension unnecessarily. So are you pressing too hard into your hands on your lap? Are you making fists? Are you pressing too hard into your feet that there's tension now in your lap or in your seat or in your lower back? Releasing that. Maybe there's some tension in the face. I know most commonly, and I'm guilty of it myself, is clenching your jaw. Maybe let your teeth separate a little bit. Maybe even let your mouth open a tiny bit. Unfurrow your brow. Let your eyes stay closed or gaze low, but don't strain them in any way or close the eyes too tightly. And we're going to let our breath release any of this. So coming back to forgiveness. What I would like you to do, without much thought, without much digging, because we don't really want that right now, find something in your mind that maybe eats at you, that maybe is something that you would like to ask for forgiveness for, to forgive yourself, or you'd like to ask someone to forgive you for something, or that you simply are wishing forgiveness upon anyone. So let's take a deep breath into our body. What I want you to picture here when we take this deep breath is light, colors, rainbows, beautiful things coming into the body. And as we exhale that out, any darkness, any of those words even that you just strung together for what you want to be forgiven for or to forgive others for, let that go. Maybe even picturing a dark cloud leaving. So now that we know where we're going with this, breathing in the light and the good stuff and letting go of the bad, let's take a deep inhale together, doing 3 rounds of this. Deep inhale, inhale all the beauty, all the color, all the light. Exhale all the murkiness, the darkness, the tragedy, stress. Inhale the good. Exhale the bad. And this very last one, if you haven't been exhaling through the mouth, I encourage you to do so. So breathe in through the nose, all that beauty, all the good. Exhale through the mouth. Just let it go. Let it dissipate. Let it go out into the universe. Let that darkness, that cloud know that, hey, you're not welcome here with me anymore. You're not serving me. Now, staying in that same spot here, I just wanted to share this quote from Marianne Williamson. She'd said, "Forgiveness is always the key to letting go of the past, atoning for our own mistakes, and forgiving other people for theirs." So once again, using our minds gently, not letting ourselves overthink, but find something that may be eating at you, may come to mind very easily that you're like, yep, that's exactly what I need to let go of. Or if it's something just more general, maybe it's just you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Just turning that around. Allowing yourself to forgive yourself for waking up on the wrong side of your bed, for being human. So simply, where you're at, if your eyes are still open in any way, gazing at the floor or not, humor me and close them for just a moment. Notice anything you're picturing in your mind's eye. And if you're seeing something that's troublesome or dark, letting that turn into that beautiful tree that we're grounding into, that's rooting up through our feet, that we are a part of, that we help blossom and grow. Allowing any of that negative energy to turn into positive and help that tree flourish. Help yourself stay grounded with your knowledge in mind and letting go of the past and the future, just simply enjoying the moment you're in. Forgiving yourself for anything that may have occurred in the past or that you know may happen in the future. And hoping that anyone who may be on the other end of that is forgiving as well. Let's take one last breath here together. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth and let ourselves let out a little sigh. Feel free to make it audible. I cannot hear you because I am a recording at this moment, but feel free if you need to let any sound out with this last sigh. If that feels good to you, do it. I encourage it. So take an inhale in with me here through the nose. Fill the belly, fill the chest. Exhale through the mouth, a huge sigh. Let all the air out. Let your belly fully deflate so you have no more air to let go of. With the eyes closed or gaze still at the ground, wiggle those fingers and toes. Move your wrists. Move your ankles. Move your feet. Make any movements that feel good. If stretching your arms up above your head feels nice, if stretching your legs out in front of you feels nice, wherever you want to be to find that waking up version of our sleepy little meditation here in the middle of your morning. So finding that comfortable stretch to just bring us back into the room. We're going to end our class today with a Buddhist prayer that I hold very near and dear. And it says, with a boundless heart, may you cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, upward towards the skies, downward towards the depths, omitting none. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from danger, and may you be loved. Let's bring our arms out to our sides. Let our arms circle all the way up over top of our heads. Let your palms come to touch. Seal in this energy, this goodness that we created to carry it with you. Let's bring our hands down to our heart. Let your knuckles kind of hit into your sternum, the center of love, the center of gratitude, of letting go. And from this place, we'll end with the word that means the light in me sees and honors the light in you, and that we are all one. That word is namaste. So either say it out loud or in your head as a thank you to your fellow classmates and a thank you to the universe for allowing us to be together today. Namaste. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining me. If you should have any questions at all, please feel free to forward them to Sarah. I'd be more than happy to answer them at any time. And thank you all again for being with me today. I wish you a great week, and I'll see you next week.